said, like, Galileo selected for NBA 2K. Period. So, growing up in a Nigerian household, I had two parents who were avid lovers and still are to this day avid lovers of Igbo high life music. Singing. That was my foundation, and that was everything that I visualized myself doing. I would literally imitate what I saw on the screen. I would dance along. And so before I ever even heard a hip hop song, that was my first introduction to music, along with being a young choir member at my church's choir, playing the African drums. So that was my early foundation with music. My cultural background comes with a lot of morals and values that tie back to where we come from in Nigeria. From the themes and the sayings that are taught from as early as, being an infant. My cultural background comes with a lot of pride, comes with a lot of important teachings that are supposed to help us carry out our lives in a certain way. And ultimately, these teachings are kind of what have shaped me to be the best man that I can be, whether it's in how you treat other people, the value of charity beginning at home, rising to the occasion as a man. These are all values that are taught from my background. And so, yeah. I started pursuing music seriously at 10 years old. I discovered my ability to freestyle at the age of 8, but I had to be 10 years old in order to officially enter the music room at my Boys and Girls Club. And so it was at that moment, September 13, 2010, I walked in, met my mentor, Rick, and he could tell from day one that I was very much passionate, that I wanted to rap.
I'm not gonna sweat, duck dance, do this. I'ma take the stage and I'ma abuse it. I'ma take the stage and I'ma do it my way, cause I do it my way and I never play.
And from that day forward, it's been nothing but consistency, dedication, and discipline in this craft. Off the bat, I always mention Kanye West and Jay-Z. Those are two artists who, in their respective crafts, have shown me the path that I want to take in trying to dominate the world with my music. Jay-Z arguably being the best rapper, Kanye West being arguably the best artist. I know that lyricism has been a big part of my growth. It's been a big part of why people gravitate towards my music, but also the artistry in whether it's waking up one day and deciding to do a whole song in my native tongue. This is what sets me apart, and so those two I have to credit at all times. And then I gotta credit my father. My father was a songwriter, and what I only knew growing up was him being a part of the church choir. But even just him humming and whistling and singing songs while getting ready for church and taking me along with him to choir practice, that right there was what opened my view to the world around me. And everything I write, I carry his eyes, his set of ears, to what sounds harmonic, what sounds universal, and what tells the tale of where we come from. So those three altogether are my biggest influences. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go with Kanye West again. With Kanye, he made it possible, at least in my eyes, for somebody like me to come where I come from. Being in the environment I'm from, it narrates all the things that sound tough and sound cool, but I wasn't involved in that. I was exposed to it, but not involved. And his fight to break the stigma around him just being a producer and being one of the greatest artists to ever touch a microphone. That right there, and where he comes from, to be able to tell that tale, he made it easier for the artists that we listen to today. But for me, I think it's him not having any boundary to what he can do. And being able to have such timeless records while all still, remaining true to that same belief of I can do anything. So I can't wait to be able to share the booth with him one day and let him know that somebody in Boston wants it even 10 times more than he does. My sound doesn't sacrifice my identity. My sound is one that's born to transcend. My biggest conflict growing up was trying to figure out how I could grab the attention of the people my age and the people older than me. And I started practicing once I learned to be able to paint scenarios that would only sound cool to the people around me my age if I was so specific. But now I had a way of making it where everybody could relate. For example, if I talked about like my high school struggles, I used to be able to tell you on a song like, oh, I was in high school and this is what I was going through. It could be a breakup. It could be, the teachers being whatever. I was very authentic to what my story is, and I still am. But now it's like, to be able to get the older audience, the older people that's listening to me, they're not in high school. So how do I still be able to depict that same feeling I'm trying to express while gaining their attention and them being able to listen to a 14, 15-year-old kid and still connect? It being true to who I am and being able to reach all across the demographic. I think my sound knows no bounds. It pulls on the heartstrings, for sure. That's one. It's very heartfelt. I think heartfelt is the best way to put it. Self-Care Volume 1. I think the brainstorming behind it, the strategy, and what I was fighting for on that project will forever be something I'll talk about. I put out 7 songs and I was inspired by my brother Clark D, who's another awesome artist and producer. And in that project, I was literally documenting what life was at for me outside of my parents' crib, now being a college student, experiencing things on my own, more mature themes. And my whole point was for people to be given a piece of art they had to sit with for some time. So that's why it was all in one single. And then having people sit with it for some time, and then afterwards separating it into the 7 songs that it initially was supposed to be. That, for me, people still talk about it to this day. People will hail it a classic. For me, it's just like, it was my best way to show that the label people had on me from being a Boys and Girls Club kid and growing up in that environment, becoming an artist, you can't put that on me. That's just my foundation, but they attribute that with being almost like a kid's bop artist because I wasn't swearing. I can still make a great song without having to swear. My best songs don't even have a single swear in it. But I just say all that to say, like, that project showed me, when people try to say, oh, Afrobeats is my lane, I hope they're not saying it's my only one. Because that's ignorance. And Self-Care Volume 1 shows you that. I was going through the motions of gradually exiting teenagehood. And hearing the beats that Clark D had for the initial beat tape that was Self-Care Volume 1 sparked me to write. It really hit the fan when me and my girl at the time weren't seeing eye to eye. And from then on, I started documenting those emotions. I let every beat tell a different story. I let it kind of be a roller coaster ride. You get happy at you, you get sad at you, you got mad at you, introspective. I wanted everybody to see me in different forms. I just let life do its thing. I let life run through me. I let myself be outside and enjoy what it was like to finally be independent in a way. I'm still with my folks and everything. I'm still very much closely tied with my family, but that was my first time being able to understand what it meant to be on my own terms and face consequences where I didn't have to go home and hear my parents reprimand me for things. It was really time for me to face things head on, and that was the start of it my freshman year here at UMass Lowell. So yeah, those were the inspirations behind it, and I just channel it through what I know best and what I do best. My first performance was at the B3 Police Department in 2010. It was a Halloween party. They have a Halloween haunted house that they do every year. I don't know if they still do it, but that was my first show. I dressed up as Run DMC. My family doesn't even celebrate Halloween, to be real, but it was my first show, and I had wrote a verse for a song they had us make for Halloween, the music room. I didn't let anything stop me from that moment. Even with those simple 8 bars, I made sure to let people know, oh, I got energy, I got charisma. As a matter of fact, to be honest, that was my first performance that was actually planned for, but the real first performance is a YouTube video that I just watched yesterday. I was 10 years old, and my mentor, Rick, asked me to go and freestyle with the guests that were in the building at the Dorchester Boys and Girls Club. He's a Grammy-winning drummer by the name of Swiss Chris, and then the other one was the bass player for Aerosmith, Tom Hamilton. And I went up there, I asked him to freestyle. Swiss Chris starts drumming, Tom Hamilton got a riff going, and I had the meanest energy upstage. Everybody was like, who is this short 10-year-old kid with the massive head?
He's on the dust, man, what you gonna do, man? He's on the front. Shout out to Blue Hill all the way. My name is Old man, you know I don't play. Can you see the rest that I won't be lazy? From this joint like I am the king. Give me back, man. I own everything. Give me this, man, I run this town. That's why Blue Hill, they all own the crown. If you wanna say something, go crazy on the face. Man, I'm so fresh, I'm the fresh of this.
And then it got on YouTube. The video was put on YouTube, and I remember going home and saying, Mom, Dad, I'm on YouTube. And they're like, doing what? And that right there was the start for real. To this day, you can go back and see comments from our friends. I was in the 4th grade, but I had a voice and I wanted to show you. The bars I'm not so ecstatic about to this day, but they meant something. I told you I was here. I told you that this is my introduction to the world. This is Echezona. I would say when I went to UMass Amherst in November of 2021, they had the Afro Ball event. And that had been an event that I had been trying to get at for a long time. These college shows I'm not new to. I've either aimed to do them since I was in high school or have performed at some of them. And it really felt like I was at home. To this day, I get chills when I watch the video of me introducing myself as a young man, young Nigerian man from the city of Boston. The screams, it feels right. It feels like it could go at the intro of a song. Watching the crowd sing back Galileo to me. That's something I dream of, or I just watch all my favorite artists do, where they literally can point the mic to the crowd and they're singing it word for word. It's a simple song to catch along to, but just seeing that for me was like, whoa. When you put in this long work, performances like that remind you you are born for this. There's no other way. It can't be anything else. So I'll give it to that one. Yeah. I think it's the feeling of making people smile. I'm just doing what I do in my basement, in the living room, what I usually do in the mirror. Now I'm just doing it to a bunch of people. I love performing. I love that impact of the words hitting and connecting. I love seeing people watch me and follow my every move, knowing I got something worth watching. I love being able to express myself, get into the zone of you getting to feel the pain and passion that made the records I'm singing, or the excitement, the joy that made the records that I'm singing and performing. I love the aftermath, people feeling inspired. So it's a lot. if I just had to pick one, I think it's dominating the stage, owning it, walking away and leaving a mark that people will talk about the whole night. I'll never forget when I got the text message from my mentor, Brian Price. He sent me a text in our group chat for my label, Comatose Records, and he said it so casually. He texted it. He said, like, Galileo selected for NBA 2K.
Keep my head to the stars like Galileo, Galileo, Galileo. Keep your head to the stars like Galileo.
I'm coming out the shower. I read the text message. I'm like ecstatic. What the? Are you out your, what? I'm screaming. I ain't got nothing but a towel on. Like, I'm like, what? Like, get out of here. So I called Brian back. I said, Pops, how dare you send me a text like that all nonchalant, like that's not a big deal. Are you crazy? We're about to be on 2K. You gotta understand how hard it is to not tell my younger brother who plays 2K every day. And he's the first person to hear anything I make in the studio. But I kept it. Until finally my dad said it's time. Made the announcement. And it just felt like a moment where I sat and realized, like, we on our way. There's only 2 other Boston artists who I listen to and I study that have made that happen. And I'll just never forget the feeling and what it taught me. It was a moment I'll never forget that we still talk about. It was only hard because it was during the pandemic. This is 2020. So I don't even get to celebrate it I'm in the house. And the only person who can feel this excitement is my brother. My parents are happy, but they're Nigerian. They what is 2K? They just know that's the game they tell my brother to get off of if he's on it too long. My sister, she's happy for me, but she don't play no 2K. That's what 2K meant to me. That's what happened the first time I got that announcement. And it's something that I'll get to tell my kids. I'll get to share with their dad got on 2K. 20 years old.
Keep my head to the stars like Galileo, Galileo, Galileo. Keep my head to the stars like Galileo, Galileo, Galileo. Keep my head to...
I did have other things I wanted to do, like my cousins can quote me on this. At one point, I grew up in the church, very involved. And I'm Catholic, so I was an altar boy. And at one point, I did consider becoming a priest. At one point, I did consider being the president. So when I ended up with music, it wasn't far off based off of my background. And even the things I wanted to be beforehand, they weren't far off either, because each of these roles, whether it be music, whether it's being the president or being a priest, these were all leadership roles. I was always born to be a leader. That's what I always knew I wanted to do. Music was not far off because obviously the background. There were moments where I could see myself, standing in front of the Oval Office and, consistently being in the church. So those 3 things, they still very much happen. So I'm not the president of anything, but except my career. Hell yeah, for sure. For sure. Here's a moment where I'm gonna take accountability on this. I tend to overextend. I care. I'm very good at giving credit to people. So I think there are people who I've given credit to that maybe deserved it more than people I gave it to more. And most of that hate, put aside my peers, it came from people I looked up to. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if it was from afar, like, I find myself in situations where there's always some older person who I look up to, I value, I study, I give them their flowers in private and in public. And as they see me progress, it's almost like there's a sense of entitlement. That vision of me being the younger brother, or the younger homie, or the youngin'. That's what they love to hit you with, the youngin'. When they see you continue to evolve, and in some way, shape, or form, if they don't feel a part of that, then they start to either neglect you or just try to deny, like, you're not who you are. It's okay. I understand. Not everybody's gonna get it. The passion I'm speaking with is coming from people who were right there with me. People who were right there with me, or people who, like, I was in their faces showing them love. All I valued was the older homies who I looked up to seeing me and knowing that I was trying to make them proud, or knowing that I was trying to, if not surpass them, follow in their footsteps. I equate that to people being intimidated. But I'm an older brother, and if my dream is not for my younger brother to be better than me, I'm lame. But I guess some people can't see it that way, and that's their own problem. The friends that always share my stuff without asking, who consistently show up, and those are people that I want to love more. Because obviously my parents, my siblings, I can think of my cousin Chi-Chi, who has shown up to my shows. Her family lives in Norwood. She'll come to a show in Dorchester just to see me perform. My song drops, she gonna share it, no hesitation. Performance opportunity, she's gonna let me know. My brother Chi, that's my best friend. He's the person who is counting on me the most. These are just two people who, like I just mentioned, who I've seen it directly firsthand, what they do. There's countless others. I got teachers who I still keep in contact with from going to school in Western Massachusetts who are rooting for me every step. They follow me on my Instagram, my Twitter. They up to what I'm up to, and they're proud of me. I got cousins who are rooting for me back home in Nigeria, uncles and aunts. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, yeah, family and friends and people who genuinely believe in me. They're there. And I'm thankful for them, and I promise not to take them for granted. Being a college student and an artist at the same time is you having the conversations that your parents would normally have with you, with yourself. My parents have supported me every step of this music career. They've always told me to prioritize my education, which I continue to do. But I think they know what I want to do. I feel like this master's degree pursuit is not just for me. It's for my dad, who would have excelled beyond it if he had the same opportunity I had. I'm doing this very much knowing like it is what I want to do. But I know a huge part of it is like I owe this to my father. I had an uncle, my Uncle George, who told me that I am my father with the opportunities that he didn't have. And that for me has always followed me in this education path. You know, my mom is a college graduate and still doing school. I pray that she gets to see, you know, her nurse title live well on her coat when the time is right. I'm maintaining. I'm doing what I gotta do. Just making sure my homework assignments are turned in when they gotta be turned in, and I'm showing up. I can't lie, I be drained and I get tired. I get discouraged. Sometimes I lack discipline. My time management needs to be better. These are all the things that come with growing, maturing. As a young man in his 20s trying to chase his dreams. Melodies come in my head all the time. They pop in my head randomly. Maybe I heard a song and I envision how I would float on the song, and I'll take that and come up with something completely different. Sometimes they come in the shower. The bathroom has been the inspiration behind some of the best songs I've ever made. Other times it comes from being around my friends and just being in the midst of conversation and hearing what is on our minds. What are we talking about? What are we going through? Just from experiencing. So too many times people will see me walk off. They might see me muttering something into my phone. That's me in my voice memos laying something down, laying an idea down that just came to me so I don't forget. Or I have a whole list of like rap metaphors that I'll come up on the spot. I always try to write at least a bar a day. And I say a bar because sometimes you might not have the whole verse. You might not have the whole 4-bar hook. So little by little, it's a gradual process, but I let it feel. Sometimes you get the song out in 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes a few days, sometimes a few weeks, sometimes a few months. I used to think I was so impressed by the whole, he wrote this in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's dope. I've done that before. I know what I've done in a short span of time, but when they talk about the greatest of albums, that could be an added thought, but the album that took 13 weeks compared to the album that took 13 minutes, great music is great music. You made it a great time, cool, but I want to take my time. Life can progress and I might have some new way to spin it. So that's how I let it do. I let time and life do its thing. And I stay calm. Yeah. So I was named after my dad's younger brother, passed away at a young age. My full first name is Echezona Chukwu. So Echezona on its own means don't forget. Chukwu means God. So don't forget God. It's my full meaning. So yeah, answering Echezona, which you'll see on my government papers and all that, means don't forget. And I feel like it's very, very fitting for the type of mark I'm trying to leave on this earth. That's what that means in the Igbo language. Before I started going by my first name as my stage name, my nickname to a lot of my friends I grew up with at the Boys and Girls Club was Obama. And that came from during the time President Obama was running for election the first time. The Learning Center teachers were trying to teach us the importance of the election. And so to run an exercise to give a sense of what an election's like, they picked one person to represent McCain, one person to represent Obama, and gave us like themes to advocate for. You can guess who was picked to be Obama. And my ability to speak, just carry myself kind of like a presidential figure. That's how the staff would narrate it. That nickname stuck. So that's a nickname that many friends to this day still call me. But then as I started to mature and get older, I went by Eche. That was going on for a few years until one of my good friends, Christina, who I went to school with in Weston, what she said to me made me start going by my name, Echezona. She said, I love your name, man. I feel like Echezona's like mighty though, like regal. She said, like, when I think of it, I hear like the one name performers like Madonna, Beyonce, Prince. So when she said that to me, I already felt that way about my name, but I didn't think of that in my stage name. It didn't necessarily cross my mind, or maybe I just hadn't felt pulled towards it. When she said it, I thought about it, and I just loved how she said those names, because those are the greatest of the greats. And that's the status I'm trying to get to. So I credit her with helping influence that decision to finally go by my stage name. And I think that was important, just hearing it from one of my allies in the school that will make me question my worth. And at one time made me question my worth. And it was somebody who is very much a supporter of me and what I do. So yeah, that's kind of the progression of what my name came to be. To my siblings, I'm still just Etch, but I think they love that I'm going by my name and I'm owning it. Yeah, I love to work out, and that's something that I started around the time I was writing self-care. See how life is being a prominent theme of my work. Self-care comes from taking care of yourself and looking at the areas that need more watering. And so I was always a chubby kid. So to evolve into a better figure and to still be chasing after my fitness goals is something that I'll attribute to wanting more for myself. And that reflected in my music. I love family time. I love hanging with my family and being at functions together, having a great time. I love to dance. When the spirit moves, with the music, I love that feeling. I love to write. I enjoy reading. I always have. I love watching my favorite hip hop podcasts and interviews just to gain some inspiration. Those are just a few. I love dodgeball. Yeah, playing basketball with friends whenever I get the chance. But yeah, that's just a few I can think of. Sometimes it's maintaining the patience, because I've had so many we're almost theirs that I either have to hold off, things should have been different for me, or that shift that I'm looking at, that life-changing phone call, moments where I felt like it should have came and it didn't. I think it's about maintaining that patience. I'm forever hungry. I want to be better than everybody. I want to be better than who I was yesterday. But then again, I know when it's your time, it's your time. My dad raised me and my siblings with this quote. We would leave it on our cubbies at back to school night. It's one of the quotes that if I ever were to get a tattoo, it would have to go on my arm. He said, success goes to whoever that works for it, not by the matter of chance. We've been saying that forever. I've seen the results of what hard work gets me, and I've never left it up to chance. That's the one quote that my sister knows, my brother knows. Like, that's my dad, for real. Yeah. I'm gonna become a multi-platinum Grammy winner rap artist. I'm gonna be a great partner one day. I'm gonna be an exceptional father one day. I'm gonna be a master's degree holder. I'm gonna be the reason my mom doesn't have to work. I'm gonna be the reason my dad doesn't have to work. I'm gonna be an advocate for mental health. I'm gonna have better mental health within myself. And I'm gonna give hope to the Nigerian kids and all the kids from different backgrounds across the world who have a dream and a vision that doesn't align with what their parents deem fitting, what society deems fitting. There are many artists who did it without that being their main focus. But I always just wanted to show that I'm an example of it's possible to find the balance between making your parents proud and following what you want to do. I'm gonna be able to come back to where I used to stress out about homework and assignments and be able to talk to those same kids, give them hope. Every chance I get to go to the studio, it's always a new single. Whether it's rap, whether it's Afro beats. Right now, there are big people who have their eyes on me. I just gotta keep showing them why they need to do more than just look at me. Show up. And I say show up because all the things that we desire, for the most part, are on the other side of showing up, being willing to work, and being disciplined. The best advice that I could give for the younger ones is to invest in a youth center that has a music room. We don't talk enough about what that alone has done. You hear a lot about figures in the industry, whether it's entertainment, sports, who were Boys and Girls Club kids. And that's probably with a Boys and Girls Club ad running it and having them be a spokesperson. It'll be a picture of them as a younger kid saying they used to go to the Boys and Girls Club. But I don't think enough we talk about like the role that youth centers like the club, whether it's YMCA, whatever, we don't talk enough about how that sets people up for success. The Boys and Girls Club alone just kept us off the streets. For anybody who's a bit older, showing up means taking the steps towards overcoming those fears. So if it means singing the song that you have written for just your siblings first, then graduating to the whole entire, immediate family, then maybe it being a family cookout. Letting it increase in numbers for anybody who's shy. I'm grateful because the way it all turns out, the Boys and Girls Club ended up being the lead, the gateway towards getting my label to see me. But for anybody else, I think it's left with investing in the studio that you can get to, getting a decent mix and throwing your stuff out on SoundCloud, boosting the social media presence. You go on my social media, you'll see that I'm a student, I'm an advocate in the community, I'm a family guy, I'm an artist. All these are different factors that contribute to being an artist on the come up. And that all starts with showing up. What's going on? This is Echezona, and I wanted to let y'all know, keep your head to the stars, block your fears, never give up. Be sure to stream my new single, Ride, on all streaming platforms, produced by J Prism. Peace and love.